Well, hey guys, and welcome to another Ask ZAC. Today we're going to be talking about 6-string bass guitars, or bass sixes, whatever you want to call them. And we're going to talk a bit about the history and players, and also some tricks and effects and different things you can use for using one of these great instruments in the context of a band or a recording. So first off, while you're thinking about it, go down in the corner and hit subscribe if you hadn't and if you've been enjoying the show. So the intro that I played was showcasing the kind of melodic aspect, and that was a part played by John Jorgensen. He used a Danelectro 6-string bass, and he was playing through a Boss vibrato. So of course I was using my Squier Bass VI through a Boss vibrato pedal to get that sound, and it's very ear-catching. And part of it is the vibrato, obviously, but a big part of it is that the lick kind of starts high and it keeps going lower than you, because you think it's a guitar part, and then it keeps going lower and it hits that low G. And yeah, that's one of the great and creative usages of this instrument. So to give some history, 1956, Danelectro introduces the U2 B6, and it is around $130 at that point, which, taking inflation into account, would be closer to $1,200 or so. And it quickly becomes picked up by a lot of players in Nashville and LA, and they start using it to double parts. It becomes popular enough that Leo Fender asks to borrow Harold Bradley's Danelectro, which I don't know why he didn't just go buy one from the store, but Harold Bradley was part of the Nashville A-Team, and he was one of the guys that popularized the instrument. And he sent his off to California, and Leo checked it out. And of course, in Leo style, he had to kind of take that kind of budget-friendly instrument and really kind of up it. So where the Danelectro is 29 3/4 inches is for the scale length, Leo went a full 30-inch, for his. And on Leo's, he had to have 3 pickups instead of 2. He had individual on and off switches, and then this bass strangle switch, which is a high-pass filter, which means that when you turn it on, it only lets highs pass. And then, of course, he put his new novel vibrato unit that was being put on the Jazzmaster and Jaguar. So, of course, Leo introduced that in 1961, and it was over $300 at that point, which would put it, well over $3,000 in today's, money. So the Danelectro ended up being more popular than the Fender version, partially because it was kind of a specialty instrument, and it was less than half the price, and it really, did the job well. Now today we have the advantage of, these, instruments that are at a lower price point because they're being made, overseas. And so you have like this Indonesian-made Squier Bass VI that I have today. That's an amazing instrument, and it's in the, $300 to $400 range, and you can find them used. And of course, you can get new Danelectro that are in that price range also. So Danelectro, of course, kind of went out in 1969, and which meant that their instrument wasn't being made. I think they had stopped making it before that anyway. And then Fender stopped production of their Bass VI in 1975. So then it's kind of over. Until some guys, and we'll get into that in a second, started popularizing the instrument again. And Jerry Jones, who was a builder here in Nashville, who was a repairman before, and he was making custom guitars. And probably the most famous custom guitar he made was, he made the Telecaster that Merle Haggard played throughout the 80s and 90s. Before Fender made his signature model, he had a neck-through Telecaster. So it had one piece of maple that went all the way through the body, and then it had the sides sandwiched on that were hollowed out. And the reason was that Merle had major back problems at that point, and he had asked Jerry Jones to make him a really light Telecaster. And so I think it ended up being in the 6-pound range. So then Jerry got the idea to start making Danelectro copies that were better made, that had nicer tuners or more adjustable bridges. And that kind of started a whole revolution. Then Fender started making the Bass VI again, and Schecter started making the Hellcat and 6, and you started getting all these companies making baritone and 6-string bass guitars. Now the true 6-string bass, of course, is tuned E to E and has somewhere in between a 29 and 30-inch scale. A full bass has a 34-inch scale, like a Fender Precision. Baritone guitar usually has one or two unwound strings, and it usually has a scale length around 27 or 28, and it's usually tuned down to B or A. So that's kind of the difference there. I prefer the full 6-string bass because it has a greater tonal range, and also because you don't have to think about almost playing in another key or something. It's just that the low string's still in E, and also you can still capo up and do different things. Now you don't have the advantage of those unwound strings that you can bend, but still extremely usable. Players. So of course I mentioned Harold Bradley, who was playing on Nashville sessions. Then you had Bill Pittman, who was playing on LA sessions, and he played most famously probably on Jack Nietzsche's The Lonely Surfer, which is great because it's, again, being used kind of in a melodic way. Let's see, make sure I have the right setting here. Probably the most famous 6-string bass line would be this. Of course, you have to turn it on. So, and that was, of course, played by Glenn Campbell, who I believe borrowed a Danelectro 6-string bass and played that. And there's also footage of him playing the song with a Fender Bass VI that's red with a matching headstock on television. It's quite cool. Let's see, it was used on Beach Boys stuff. Again, you had Dwayne Eddy using it as a melodic instrument. It was being used on, like I said, Beach Boys and all sorts of things. And then it all of a sudden just kind of dies out. By around 69, of course, Danelectro has completely stopped making them. Fender's not making them. Then players kind of, forgot about them. There are rare instances where guys that had them continued to use them. I believe Richard Bennett used one on the Billy Joel tune Captain Jack in the choruses to give it more beef. But then it starts to kind of come back in the early 80s. You have John Jorgensen with the Desert Rose Band, who played the line that I played at the beginning of the song. You have Richard Bennett on the Steve Earle tune Guitar Town. You have Hayden Nicholas playing with Clint Black doing Killin' Time. And you have all these songs where the instrument, starts to become, revitalized. I've created a Spotify playlist to spotlight some Bass 6, Danelectro Fender Bass 6 tracks. Another interesting one is John Leventhal played a Fender Bass 6 on the Sean Colvin album Steady On, and specifically on the title track Steady On. You can hear he's kind of plucking and playing some lines on it, not using it like a bass at all, and that's really, really nice. So here are some tricks. Of course, it's fun that it has 3 pickups, and so you can get anything from the like Twin Peaks, and that's using the bridge pickup, and or you can get a much softer sound by using the neck pickup. Now if I play that same line with the neck pickup but with the strangle switch, it sounds like this. And that's taking off just enough bass to where it will fit in a track better. Now, again, if you're playing by yourself, you can probably get away with it, but if there's bass also going on, they're going to start fighting. So this is a really great thing to have. Another great thing to do is to use a capo, and you can play chords. So get that, and I'm going to put it on the bridge pickup. So this is with the strangle switch on. Here's the tremolo off. Play lines, kind of finger pick things. I think some tremolo would be nice on there. It's one of my favorite effects to put on one of these. And if you really want to take it to the next level, add vibrato also. Tremolo and vibrato together are really cool. Of course, you can also play, you can play solos or play lead lines. Take the capo off and play like a fun line that kind of goes from up high to down low. You can go. So, fun stuff. So this Bass 6, the Squier, it's made in Indonesia, very reasonably priced. The only modification I've done to it is I put labella flat wounds on there because I liked it for this instrument. I like the round wounds better on the Danelectro type, and I like flats on this type of instrument. Also, I had to modify the bolt that holds the low E saddle. And so I had to cut off part of the bolt so that I could adjust the intonation and get this string in tune. So that just meant I had to remove the bolt, cut off part of it, and put it back in. So it wasn't some horrible modification, but the labella low E is bigger, and to intonate it properly, I had to do that. So, anywho, I love these instruments. They're a lot of fun. You can use them for all sorts of things. Playing chords, doubling guitar lines. That's probably one of the best usages is doubling guitar lines and really giving them a beef to it. You can play bass on it. You can put all sorts of effects on there. You can put fuzz. I remember James Burton using one of these with fuzz on it, and I'll find the tune and put it in the playlist. But yeah, but I would say my favorites are to use tremolo or vibrato, or tremolo and vibrato together. So, well, guys, I hope you've enjoyed the episode. I hope you've had fun. Again, I hope you'll subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.